Sometimes we just have to deal with facts. And a lot of people say a lot of things, and then not enough people know enough to say anything or to process it in any meaningful way. And so it just goes on as if it's the case. And it's not the case at all. Currently, of course, there's many things like that with this election. But one is the Clinton presidency, and how President Obama is really trying to say that he's emulating the Clinton presidency. Of course, it doesn't look like it in any way, but that's what he's saying. And then Clinton dutifully goes along and campaigns for the current president as if that's kind of going on. But anyway, what the Republicans, but they're just too wimpy to do or not smart enough to do. I mean, they're usually plagued by those two things. You know, too dumb and too wimpy makes for a bad party. Anyway, what they ought to do is tear the cover off that ball and expose it. I mean, the fact is that Bill Clinton got very fortunate with two things during his presidency, and it's very hard to get this kind of fortune in such a short period of time, but Clinton hit it on both ends. On the front end, he was held in pretty low regard in his first 2 years. So low that the Gingrich Revolution and the contract with America that Newt Gingrich, the Republican congressman, and became Speaker of the House in 1994, swept the Republicans to the control of the House for the first time in 40 years. The country was so disenchanted with Bill Clinton. And it was Gingrich and the contract with America that insisted on a balanced budget and really shot and went for a balanced budget amendment and nearly, just barely missed that amendment to the Constitution, but did string together 4 consecutive years of balanced budgets in accordance with the promise and the contract it made with America to take power of at least the Congress in 1994. And that is what helped Bill Clinton. The second thing that helped Bill Clinton, probably even more than that, is that he received really the equivalent of a technological industrial revolution smack dab in the middle of his terms. That is, that the economic activity from the internet boom, the dot-com explosion, all of the economic activity from that all came together during Clinton's presidency between '92 and 2000. And with all of that incredible business and finance and activity, money was flowing. So Clinton's tax rates weren't that big of a deal because we were in the middle of an industrial revolution again. And Clinton's policies economically didn't have that big of an impact because it was up against an incredible technological boon around the world, but particularly in the United States, on the front edge of that frontier. Nobody says this. They just try to skip by 8 years that Clinton was in office and try to ignore the fact that the world was pretty prosperous and this country in particular was quite prosperous. But those are the reasons primarily, is because the Congress was overtaken by people who would run Congress, unlike today in either party, and because of the technological revolution that went on in business that had little to nothing to do with politics at all, but just swamped the political effect to prosperity for the people. And that was that. And in reality, Clinton even didn't win a majority in either of his elections. You know, with Ross Perot's involvement, he won a plurality. You know, that's kind of how that went. You know, so electorally, there were no landslides. Policy-wise, it looks like Clinton paid more attention than certainly the last 2 presidents. But policy-wise, it was otherwise that made the Clinton years great years. But I guess no one remembers that.